Alright guys, this is my GPA calculator. It uses Structs to calculate your weighted and unweighted GPA. Basically, it starts out with a struct, class average, which contains the name, the grade, like the letter grade, the percentage, the what I call GP, which is basically your grade point average for that class unweighted, and your GP weighted. And also you have this is advanced, which determines whether it is an pre-IB AP, IB, and honors, so on. So basically here I declare up to 8 classes for the user to input, and I have a function called find GP.
You mean you create 8 objects of struct class AB?
Exactly. Class A, yeah, AV. Alright. Here you have there's a find GP function, which depending on the percentage entered by the user and down in void main, will give you a certain GP. Now,
you have to put the marker
pedal.
down. There you go.
Alright. Alright. There we go. And down here, you see if is advanced equals 1, that would be an honors class. It'll add 1 to the GP to find your weighted GPA and so on for an AP or IB class, or for a regular CP class. It won't add anything. Then it returns the X GP, and I have to do this again because you can't. I don't remember exactly why, but there was a loss of data if I tried to return X GP weight straight just from that function. So I had to make a separate function just for that, to return it back to void main properly, so it could be used outside the while loop in there. This is similar to the above, but instead of it's an AP string, it's a letter grade, and instead of finding a grade point average, it'll give you a letter grade to be displayed lower. And those are all the functions now. Okay.
Louis, why don't you use a mouse?
Yeah. This is all right. This is void main. That's basically the introduction, and I set up a while loop with a counter. Depending on the number of classes entered, that's what you see right here. It'll run it for a certain number of classes. Let's say if I put in 6 classes, it'll loop it all the way until it gets to counter 6. I enter the 6th class, then it'll end. Or for 4, 5, depending on each number, it'll run and then cut it off at a certain point.
So you're using the counter to determine how many classes you're entering the GPA for?
No, the user determines that. The counter is used to determine at what point if certain objects are left unused.
Okay.
Here you should try. I subtracted 1 from the counter so I could keep it consistent. 1 class equals counter 1. Otherwise, it would increment it once, then end, and then I'd have 2.
Right.
Here, depending on the number of counter, it'll calculate the average. It'll start another object called average, as if it were another class, and then calculates the average of the GP, of the weight, and the letter grade, and displays it in table down here. And now I'll compile it for you guys. All right. Anybody?
Let's do 3 classes. Let's do math. Let's do an 87.
87. No decimals?
87.5. It's an honors class. Okay, let's do AP Computer Science.
Yep.
Let's do a 75, and that's an AP. And then let's do physics. Let's do an 80. And let's make that regular. Wow. Okay. Can you interpret that table for us?
Yes. All right. The alignment's kind of off because the different lengths
of the markers, if you don't mind. Use like a red marker.
To show.
No.
Maybe. How do you get the highlight tools?
No, that's fine, that's fine. Go
Alright.
ahead and just,
Well, basically here it displays the percent, the
Okay.
initial little symbol.
so first column is the percent.
Yes.
Okay.
The second column is the letter grade, and it'll display your averages letter grade down here too.
Okay,
Then your unweighted GPA for each of the classes, 4.33, 2, 2.6, and the end is your average. And your weighted GPA for each of those classes
okay.
as 1 or 2 depending on which one, and then it'll show your final weighted and unweighted GPA down here.
Oh, okay, so the last,
Sorry about
show-
that.
the last row shows the actual GPA, the average of all
Yes.
the weighted and unweighted GPAs. Okay? Wow, vast improvement over the last GPA calculator that you did.
Yeah.
Because the last one didn't compile and it didn't use Structs. This one does compile and use Structs. What was the major challenge, Louis, that you found when you did this particular program?
Something about if statements, there's a particular problem with if statements where sometimes if you don't use else if, it'll work, but sometimes if you don't use else if, you lose half the data when you're transferring from like a loop to say outside a loop,
Right.
and so on. So that was the main problem with my other one. When I fixed it here, then everything else is smooth sailing from there.
Okay, good. Any questions, folks? Questions or comments? Okay. Louis, very good. Outstanding job. Outstanding.